Well, the most common way we handle things we don't like is to stay away from them. If you've got a neighbour or a work colleague, who may not be your favourite person, then we might not choose to be in the lunchroom with them. We might not hang out by that fence on our section. So that same logic, people often and usually and quite sensibly are going to apply to things that make them uncomfortable, like our fears or the things that make us anxious. The problem is that, as we've talked about, those things that make us anxious are often inside our own brains, and it's pretty hard to stay away from those. But also, the things that make us anxious aren't actually dangerous. And so if we actually apply that same strategy of staying away from the things that we think are dangerous, then we can keep thinking that they're dangerous. So if I have a fear around dogs and I decide that any dog I'm going to come into contact with is going to bite me, and I stay away from dogs, then my brain, every time I see a dog, reinforces that link between dogs equal danger. And so at its core, graded exposure therapy is saying, hey brain, we've actually got to give you some different experiences so that we can break down that link between dogs being dangerous. Now, of course, dogs who are foaming at the mouth and growling and pretty big and mean looking, pretty good to stay away from. But actually, we need you to be around some other dogs and start to work out what's a problem dog versus actually what's just a dog that you can be around and be safe around. And so graded exposure is around saying, how do we start to be around these things that our brain has told us we're dangerous, be around them long enough to know that in fact the feared thing doesn't happen, and be around them so that we can feel brave and effective and safe in their presence and get to the other side of those experiences. And the word graded means we do it in bite-sized chunks. Sorry about the analogy with the dog, but we're doing it in bite-sized chunks. So there's two types of exposure. One is flooding, and as the name suggests, that's kind of all in one fell swoop. And that's really effective, but pretty gross to go through. So graded exposure is when we're doing it in little chunks so that we are exposed to a situation that the brain has told us is dangerous. We have the skills to be in that situation and to calm ourselves down in the presence of that threat. And we're staying for long enough for our revs to settle. And then we move on to the next step. And so that's how we, in a graded type way, moving towards the thing that we most fear. And that can be really, really effective.